remember back when I was a social worker, before COVID, when we would go down to the break room for lunch and all eat as a group, and there'd be another table of an opposing department, and it was all females all the time, and they used to just talk so much shit about guys, like they gave zero fucks about the fact that I was sitting there right within earshot. And one of those gals in particular used to really run her mouth like she wanted me to hear. And she did nothing to hide the fact that she had a very unfavorable opinion of men. And that being said, she made some comment about how they need to make a Me Too movie to highlight all that's been going on in the news. And I thought to myself, yeah, I got an idea for you. It revolves around the movie Titanic and remaking that with a more feminist slant. Think about how we know it as this beautiful love story that was so romantic and tragic because a man made it. But imagine if Titanic came out now. It isn't Rose falling in love with this ragamuffin pretty boy from the lower deck anymore. No! The real story begins when she gets up to powder her nose, leaves the grand dining hall, and turns down the wrong hallway looking for a bathroom. She bumps into this sweaty, dirt-covered, shirtless adult Huck Finn-looking motherfucker, and he hits on her while she clutches her purse. He walks behind her all the way to the shitter, and then talks to her through the door the whole time while she prays for someone to walk by and shoo him along. It gets quiet, so she thinks the coast is clear. She opens the door, and he's gone. Steps out past the doorframe, and he grabs her arm from just off camera and pulls her into another room. She tries to scream, but he punches her right in the throat. It escalates quickly, so while she's crying and choking for air, he rips her blouse off and grabs her tits, throws her on a couch, and tears away her bloomers. Steps back and starts jacking off, but it isn't good enough, so he grabs her by the back of the head and just aggressively throat fucks her while her life flashes in front of her eyes. She's thinking about her childhood and how she wanted to be an author while the tears roll down her cheeks while she tries to gasp for air with his dick halfway down her esophagus. Then he finishes and she's coughing up blood-tinged cum. And the piece de resistance is that he catches a handful of it and then he starts drawing a giant breasted stick figure version of her on the wall. Because let's face it, when you draw stick figure women, they have to have big beach ball sized tits or it just doesn't feel right. He tosses her some stupid necklace he stole from a first-class passenger cabin 10 minutes earlier. Then he walks out of the room and she cleans herself up, gritting her teeth and talking into a mirror about how her spirit isn't broken and she won't tell anyone lest she be victim blamed and called a whore. Fast forward to when that iceberg shit goes down, and it's the captain's fault because the first mate is a woman and he's not going to listen to a girl. Jump to the last 10 minutes of the film and the boat's going down and she's floating on a door. Then suddenly she feels a hand grab the back of her dress and try to latch on for dear life. She turns around and it's Jack again. Only this time, she's the one in control. So she grabs him by the hair and starts slamming his head into the wood until he's brain dead. Just as she gets the last blow in, she lets go and we see a mangled face sink into the icy water. Then fast forward to 70 years later and she's an old woman in her wheelchair holding up a blue heart-shaped diamond and crying into the camera on 60 Minutes about how a scrub from the boiler room took her virtue but didn't break her spirit. It's very inspiring. It's the kind of shit that makes third-wave feminist clits swell to the size of baby dicks. And I know, it's horrible and graphic. It's way beyond a scene like Jodie Foster getting railed up on a pinball machine. But it's not the 1980s anymore, so you gotta up your game to match the vitriol of all the women out there talking about how terrible men are these days. Because this is their movie, and they'll be damned if they're gonna shy away from the truth that all men are just sexual deviants hoping to throw them down and have their way with them and then walk away like nothing is wrong. That's your Me Too movie.